So, yeah, so the recording will start now, which kind of makes sense because if you think about it, there are like 20 versions of me talking about this stuff that we've talked about up until now, right? Whereas what we talk about from this point onward has never happened before in the universe, right? So this is the exciting part of today's teaching session. Yeah. And we have a lot of time. We have 40 minutes almost for a lot of great comments and thoughts and stuff like that. So anyway, welcome to the recorded part of the course. I'm sorry that my background is so incomplete. I pride myself in having really great backgrounds, but I'm afraid our setup with me doing sort of most of the setup there, that's not too bad. All right, yeah. Okay, so what thoughts or questions do any of you have? And we could pass around the microphone here if any of you want to, any of you in the room. And another thing that I'm interested in from a practical point of view, here's what I've told Rich Sutton, that this coming Thursday, when Osmer Zayan is speaking in the course from his home, something magical is going to happen, and we're going to figure out what the student tendency is to come to this room or not come to this room when the lecturer isn't here, right? Because that's an unknown, right? And I'm not trying to force it one way or the other. So currently, there are 6 students here in the room, and there are 11 participants on Zoom. And there are in the course, there are 10 registered students and 5 medical students taking the course as an elective, and then 7 TAs. There were a lot of TAs here last time. There are possibly no TAs at all here at the moment. Anyway, I believe that might be the case. Yeah. So everybody who's here now is a registered student or a medical student. So we don't need to make any big decision. I'm just saying that once Thursday happens, we're going to say, okay, the students have spoken, and this is what their internal motivation led them to do. This is how many came to the Echo room and how many watched by Zoom, and that'll give us some idea what will happen other times like that when the speaker is not here. So the advantage of being here is you can meet me, but you've met me before, and the value of that becomes less, or I don't know, you can think about it that way. Yeah, so any thoughts about that? Is this hybrid nature of the course working for you guys, or are there, yes, it is? Are you aware of other courses that are doing it as well as we are? Yeah, cool, okay. Good. Yeah. Well, it's nice to know that the technology is there. Yeah, I think our sound system is particularly good, and it sort of makes the voice of people on Zoom and the voice of people in the room equal, right? So that's kind of uber cool. Now, what I would have done if I had more setup time is set up the other computer so you can see the people in the room. Yeah, so that'll be a feature. We can for sure do that on Thursday because I don't have to worry about giving a presentation. I just have to worry about showing up, right? It's sort of like being a fashion model or something. You just have to show up, right? So my tasks are less on Thursdays. So we'll be able to arrange that you'll be able to see the people in the room, which is psychologically maybe the big defect of this today. Any other thoughts about how the course is going, or sins of omission, commission? Yeah, anything that you would like to bring up? I would point out that it's easier for people to bring things up on Zoom because in the room, they have to ask for the microphone. So there's a procedure, So, whereas you guys on Zoom can just unmute and speak. So I would suggest somebody unmute and speak about something that is at the top of your mind and that you think is worth talking about, that would benefit the course.
Kim,
Yes.
when you're talking about the singularity, could you elaborate a little bit on, it seems the way it's presented, there's almost a dichotomy between technology and between humans, in the sense of we're talking something that develops over time, potentially independent from us. And why isn't the singularity talked about in a singular way, in the sense of paths towards a co-development whereby humanity may be distinguishable in ways in the future whereby it wouldn't be able to relate to the humanity of the past?
Right. Yes. No, I think that there are a lot of interesting problems here. One is that AI alignment has become something discussed as if it was something theoretical that had nothing to do with the future of the human race, whereas in fact it has everything to do with the future of the human race, right? So one problem is you can easily find discussions online where people talk very quickly about scenarios that wipe out the entire human race, as if, well, this is just a theoretical thing, with no, emotion or anything. It's just completely ridiculous. And so I think that's an ethical problem in itself, to discuss such a big bad thing happening as just a sort of theoretical thing and then move on to something else. It's like that would be something worse than most things we ever consider, right? So I think that it is likely and desirable that the singularity will occur with humans and computers working together, and that it will work in a way that heads toward the utopia rather than the apocalyptic side. And you can easily think about how that might work. All the things humans can't solve at the moment, sentient machines would be able to fix. And that includes male aggression and people being honest with each other and so on. A lot of things like that. So we could end up with an almost perfect world. And yeah, that might, for instance, be the outcome if what I'm talking about happens, where you take the big problems of the human race that we've gotten to a certain point and don't seem to be close to a solution, and with AI and blockchain added, get much closer to a solution. That would create a much better world than we're in now. And yeah, I mean, that's sort of what I see potentially happening. But you're quite right that a lot of these depictions, and particularly Marcus Hutter's sort of human alienation component of his slides, it is very great. You know, you get lonelier and lonelier. You reach each successive slide, and it really seems like a terrible world that he's describing there. But that does not need to be the way things will go. The other thing is, I don't think we're going to get to mind uploading quickly, not because we technologically couldn't, but because the psychiatric side effects are enormous. None of us are prepared to live on a ceramic slab, you know? Nothing in our life experience has sort of prepared us for that. Even though maybe we could travel the galaxies and become immortal and, you know, feel anything we want to feel and all sorts of new, you know, emotions and so on, it's still losing our body and bodily sensations. Most people would not survive as a sane person. That, you know, transition from being a biological being to being just ones and zeros on a piece of silicon somewhere. So I have predicted that it would take like 160 years before we're there, rather than 18. Ray Kurzweil had said that mind uploading could be widespread and successful in the 2030s, which means 18 years from now. I think it's very unlikely that we would want that. It's not that we couldn't do it, but I think no one would want it. And if one person did it, no one would believe the self-reporting from that person, right? Because their pressure to say that it was great would be just overwhelming, right? I'm the first person to do mind uploading. I've done it, and now I'm here to report to you that it's the most fantastic thing ever, you know? Yeah, no one would believe that person, whoever it was, because it seems like it's not an unbiased situation. So, and if you take that out of the equation, so we're still talking about biological humans, that's a much more comfortable future scenario than thinking of us as just sort of electronic files somehow. Electronic files with some agency, you know, like maybe we can move our ceramic slab around and ceramic slab can talk and that sort of thing, but it's still not quite like being a biological human. So does that partly answer the question?
Well, I think it's an ongoing conversation, right?
Yeah, sure.
It's just this somehow sometimes we seem to discuss human, focusing on the non-technological aspects of what is a human. So we talk about a human in opposition to technology in the sense of uploading our consciousness onto technology, but our consciousness is already technological, right? In the sense of we don't live apart from any of the technologies we use, whether that's as simple as a book or an iPhone or some other way in which we kind of codify and develop our human memory, which is a technological memory, right? Yeah. So that's just why when we talk about a singularity, sometimes when I read some of these papers or I hear some of these slides, it sounds like at some point the technology becomes independent of the human and develops on its own. So why people imagine a separation compared to humans, you know, as we are as technological beings, changing in time in such a way that we aren't comparable to what we were.
Yes. So like what Rich Sutton says about this is that these sentient computers will be like our children, and in a family that's healthy, the children and the adults get along and do stuff together, and it's all great, right? So, on the other hand, if humanity runs aground, if we get stuck, if we're just constantly proving that this basic human goodness, there's zero evidence for it, maybe it makes sense that the machines would become independent from us and set down some ground rules for what the earth should be like, how warm it should get, and all sorts of things like that we humans perhaps would have shown ourselves unworthy of being able to establish those rules. Yeah, so that's not the most desirable outcome, but it is a possible outcome, that the machines get smarter and smarter, become independent from us. And because our behavior is so inferior to what it could be, that they decide to sort of ignore us, right? So that's like what would be the worst outcome. Yeah.
I have something to say.
Yeah.
So when you talk about mind uploading, what exactly would we even be uploading? Because, like, as far as I understand it, we don't even know what entails a mind.
Right. Yeah.
So how would you upload that? And then what if we don't know what like makes up a mind? How do we know that computers that exist don't already have some form of mind of their own that we'd be, like I don't know what the word is, conflicting against when we try to upload our own minds?
Right. Yeah. So, like, there are huge projects working on the connectome, the way the human neurons connect, and theories of how the brain works, which may be very different from what consciousness is, and the binding problem, the hard problem of consciousness, and so on. Just knowing how the brain works in general doesn't tell you anything really about how the mind works and consciousness. So there is a tremendous need for more information before we know what we're doing with mind uploading. But what troubles me as an anatomical pathologist, which is what I do in my day job, like, in order to look at tissues, you have to fix them in fixatives, which physically shrink them. Like, formaldehyde, glutaraldehyde are the common solutions used for that. And so people are taking connectomes from fixed brains and assuming that the relationships, and it's sort of like cooking bacon. Remember the last time you did that, the bacon shrunk a lot, right? And its shape, once you got done cooking the bacon, was quite a bit different from the shape when it started, right? So people are pretending that the relationships between cells and so on, the connections as you see them in fixed tissue, is exactly the same as it is in living tissue, which I think is very unlikely to be the case. So there are many barriers. And I think one of the cutest things I've ever done in my life, it's interesting to think about and this isn't a joke, and I'm not saying anything bad about, the dean's office, but the dean's office has a PR person, right? The Faculty of Medicine dean's office. And she got so excited by that mind uploading video that had my 7-year-old granddaughter in it, talking about Minecraft and, the computer game she'd played and how that might be like mind uploading for her 7, that they almost like featured that video in the, Faculty of Medicine stuff, which would have been completely inappropriate, but it's so, but I think bringing a 7-year-old into this is good because suddenly you think about the welfare of that person. And, like what we were saying is all these famous young people who did memorable things early in life tended to do it about the age 27. And if Ray Kurzweil is right about when we do mind uploading, then my granddaughter will upload her consciousness to a ceramic slab at age 26 and never get to be a biological human at age 27 because she'll be, on the ceramic slab phase of her life. So yeah, I think that's more touching than if we had all adult actors. And so that's quite a long video, the one with my 7-year-old granddaughter in it. There's also a 2-minute video that I did for a contest. So you can get me talking about this, a very short video or a very long video. And it is really cool how close the dean's office came to like featuring that as if it was some important medical thing, just because they thought it was so cute with the people in it. Yeah. So I will send you the link, but I point out that particularly because my granddaughter's in it, you're not required to watch it. Nobody has to watch it, right? It's a matter of information in case you would like to watch it. Yeah. So that's a much longer answer than you were expecting. Yeah. No, I think we all have a stake in this, right? We have a stake in the richness of human culture and life, right? So when I talk about my disagreement with Yuval Noah Harari about human culture being wrecked because sentient machines will make much better decisions, and so the peak of every plot of every novel and TV show and so on would be wrecked because rather than the human making the decision, the machine would make it. But if we have that much intellect hanging around, both in us and in the machines we have access to, then our culture can be much richer than it is now. FOMO is gone. We can do multiple simultaneous things at once. If you have many events at the same time, you can take part in them all with your biological self going to one and your avatars which can report back to you in a sort of timeless way. Yeah, that's all. So we're looking at a potential future world where every time you meet a friend on the street, you have only success stories to talk about, right? That's the only thing possible because, success is now so easy and, it can be simultaneous. You're doing several different things at once. And if you question whether that could possibly be true, there's an ANA Avatar X Prize that is going to be awarded this year. They're actually meeting this month in Miami, and they're going to pick the finalists and so on and so forth. So yeah, there will be things like that. It won't be the complete end of FOMO, but you can at least, the next time you have two conflicting events, you'll think, well, there'll come a time when I'll be able to do them both. Can't do it yet, but eventually I will be able to do them both, or 3 or 4 or something. Yeah. Other questions, discussion? Yeah, so let's move this around and identify yourself because people can't see you, right?
Hello? Hello. Oh gosh, I can hear myself. Oh no, I gotta turn that down. I just have a question. Like, do you think that it's possible to, like, I'm realizing, or like I'm guessing that based on like how technology has progressed right now, we're seeing like, for example, Facebook exists, right? But the laws for like Facebook have not caught up. So therefore information sharing becomes like kind of like, the Facebook thing that happened where like people were selling information. And then this is because like our systems don't have the time to catch up to the crazy outbursts of like innovation. Wow. So
Right.
I'm thinking, is it possible to like, not possible. Is it a good idea to maybe slow down innovation and enable like infrastructure or like pour money into infrastructure or help that?
Yeah.
Like if it's a
Well,
good
there-
idea or if it's even
There
possible.
have been books.
Yes, Mike.
I'm just talking to myself here. Yeah. So there have been books like In Praise of Slow and Enough, and I think there are 6 such books about slowing down our technology life, right? And they all seem to be written by self-interested authors. In other words, we're just trying to make a buck on the idea, because there's no evidence that any of those 6 authors are actually following any of the advice in their own book, right? They are not slowing down. They're not, and so I don't think that is practical. Technology has a kind of momentum, and I think that we are unlikely to be able to convince the whole world to just slow down, right? And if one part slows down, they'll just become technologically inferior to the other countries, and so it's not advantageous. Yeah.
So then should we just ask people to speed up to match up technology, I guess? Because like I'm thinking ethics, right? Like people, like we're dealing with humans here, right? And when it comes with technology and human, just like who's the person who was talking before? I forget, but he was mentioning like humans and technology being like working together and moving forward, right? I feel like maybe there needs to be a lot more consideration in that sense, but I'm not sure. Does that make sense? Maybe, I don't know. Here you go.
Hello, I would also like to contribute to this discussion. My name is Chun. There's no camera in front of me, so I guess I'm a mysterious being to you all. I feel like what she is bringing up is a valid. Hello. I guess I'm showing up now on the other screen. Anyways, so what I'm trying to say is there's a lot of skepticism in the world around new technologies. So even with, I guess the COVID vaccine is a good example. Because it came out quickly and like within a year, since it was a very urgent problem, obviously. And then people became really suspicious of the vaccine and they're not getting it, even though it's been tested and like it's gone through all of the processes that it should have gone through and it's been proven to be safe and effective, but people still don't want to get it because they're suspicious of it. So I'm feeling like if technology is advancing so quickly and it brings up so many new problems that people aren't prepared to deal with, they'll be really suspicious of it and they won't be ready to embrace it or move as quickly as the technology does. So
this is like based off your point. So like you said that like maybe like the only way to solve it is to like slow down progress. But I think it also depends on like government. So there are like some countries where they actually did manage to handle it effectively. I think it's like New Zealand or something, where like there's like more protection of their citizens' data. So I think like there are other ways of solving it where I think it's still like a reasonable solution. And like obviously it won't be perfect, but like it's probably hard to do. Oh, I'm Amir.
Thank you. Okay. So if I could ask, how is the sound working for those of you on Zoom? Are we incredibly quiet, or are we the right volume? How is the sound volume?
It's pretty good. Like when the person has the mic, it's very clear. And then if people in the distance are talking, we can like faintly hear them
I
as an
see.
echo. So it's good.
Right. Yeah. So, it's kind of strange because within the room, you can hear other people better if you take your headphones off, but then we can't hear you guys. So that's the only strange thing about this interaction in the room itself. But we'll sort that out. Ryan, yes, Ryan, what did you want to say? Ryan had his hand up.
Sorry, I was just agreeing that the sound is all good on this end.
Okay, good. Great. Yeah. No, I'm quite proud that we're able to cobble together this system. So, Sean Liss, did you want to say something?
Yeah, sorry, my voice is a little bit lost, so I apologize if you have trouble hearing me.
No, we aren't having trouble.
Okay,
You
good,
sound
good.
loud and clear. Yeah.
Good. Just adding on to the discussion that was kind of in the room, but I find generally cultures tend to be more reactive than proactive when it comes to especially things like cultural phenomenon as resulting from technology. I think social media is a very good example of that, where social media was around for a very long time, yet issues like misinformation and fake news were able to propagate for quite a long time before policymakers and people generally started talking about social media and misinformation as, hey, this is a problem, we got to address this, and before actions actually started being taken with regards to it. I think as technology evolves, things like ethics and culture and political decisions that will be made in the future will largely be reactive elements more so than kind of prescriptive elements to deal with these changes.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. Yeah. Sorry, like I was getting a phone call at the same time. I have no idea. Luckily, it's a number that I don't recognize, so I don't feel bad declining it. All right. Okay. So next time, I thought I'd tell you my plans. I'm going to bring my Sony Aibo robotic dog, the ERS 1000. It's the only one in Canada. It was incredibly difficult to get across the border. What does that mean? It means you shouldn't get one, right? I mean, it would be a ridiculous thing for you. They're expensive, and like it wasn't just getting it through customs. Even after it got through customs, it took me 3 days to get it from the airport to me. And if anything had gone wrong, I would just if you're purchasing it through a third party, so you don't have any recourse. Like if you get the dog and it doesn't work or something. So as cute as it will be, don't get the impression that you as a person living in Canada should buy this, because also Sony doesn't want you to, right? They are not selling this product in Canada. They don't support it here. So anyway, as a good Canadian, you shouldn't have this robotic dog. But anyway, I will bring it. So that's one of the advantages of coming here to this room if you wish to do that. And from a COVID point of view, this is getting a lot safer than it was last time. You know, there were 16 people in a 16-seat room last time. It just seems like we didn't look terribly pandemic aware, whereas today it's all great. We're like 6 feet apart, and yeah, it's totally good. So yeah. Okay, and so I wanted to point out you're under no pressure to sign up for, which costs money, the higher level of academia membership, and to listen to our course there. I think a lot of the content will be the same as what's here. So it's a repackaging of what you guys are already getting. And it'll have a few other bells and whistles in terms of the tech of the video, and I have a kind of consistent theme, but you're not really missing out. I don't want you to feel this huge angst that I keep talking about this academia course that you never get to look at. Yeah, so don't worry about that. You're kind of getting something like it here. So, yeah. So we have 2 minutes left in the class period. Does anyone else have any burning question or comment or anything? Yes. Okay, pass the mic down.
I'm honestly still kind of having trouble visualizing like the three kinds of singularity, like the event horizon and the accelerating change. And what was the other one? Intelligence explosion. Like, what's the difference between all of them?
Well, unfortunately, there's an answer to that. First of all, Marcus Hutter is telling you about the intelligence explosion in that piece of writing from him that you have. That's what that's about, right? And it isn't hard to kind of conceptualize the different ways in which this could occur, but the kind of element of surprise and naturalness, kind of self-organizing where suddenly it happens, I guess that's kind of what the explosion would be something really surprising, right? That's maybe one of the main elements. Yeah, I think one of the things to say about this course is you will benefit from it in a way that's different from what every other student benefits. You sort of pick the areas of interest to you and really dive down deeply into the things that interest you. So yes, these various kinds of singularity and the way it could happen will be on the exam, but if you don't spend a lot of time studying them, lots of other cool stuff that will be on there too. And what we do the exam, sometimes the raw student performance on the exam is quite poor and tremendously variable. Like, let's say from a score of 20 to 95, right? So we then scale the scores. We bring the person with the score of 20 up to like 82 or something. So they get a B minus. And we bring the 95 up to 99. So that person gets an A plus. It's kind of weird, but we've been doing it for 10 years and I haven't gone to jail. Nobody's like, I've got no threatening phone calls about it. Yeah. So that's what we do. So, you could be in a circumstance where you do really badly on parts of the midterm and you still turn out okay in the course because of the way that we scale the grades. So that's kind of our approach to this. And what I'd like to think is you would figure out, you already sort of have a plan for your life, and you would figure out how this course sort of fits into that plan, and that would determine what you pick for the final paper topic and what you will spend the most time on. Yeah, and yeah, so that's really how it works. It isn't a rigid course where I'm trying to end up with you all knowing exactly the same things. It's not that, isn't it? You know, and I'm trying to learn from you too, so that I like surprising. If you find new content that I knew absolutely nothing about, you know, some approach that's great. Yeah. So don't worry too much about being sort of like painted into a corner and, you know, you somehow studied the wrong thing really badly on the exam and so on. And also remember what I think I said last time, which is a really weird thing, is that a lot of the only unhappy students, which doesn't happen very often, there are often students who get A's and whose friends got A pluses and they're really upset. And the students at the bottom, you know, with the B's and the, you know, B minuses, they're often students who think that's a perfectly respectable grade, which it is, you know, yeah. So anyway, and sometimes everybody gets A's, and you know, it's a mix of A minus, A, and A plus. And I used to think that I would go to jail if I took a course like that, but it turns out to be perfectly legal as far as I can tell. To have every student in the course get some brand of A, so that can also happen. So yeah. So I think you should think of the greater long-term benefit of taking this course rather than sort of how to, you know, get a good grade. Think of how to succeed in your life because you took the course. So that's more important than, you know, getting a particular grade. And if you have a good friend in the course who's just doing a little bit better than you and brings his unique insights and so on, and that person gets an A plus and you get an A, that's really just fine, you know. It honestly is. In the great scheme of things, that's not a big problem. Yeah. So I'm going to put my headphones on just in case there might have been something crucial being said by the people on Zoom. So did I miss any comments from the Zoom people? You 10. No. Okay. Yeah, I can. Let me see. Okay. Yes.
It's okay, you don't have to answer that question.
AI versus large computer networks. Well, the large computer networks is where the internet comes alive. You turn on your computer and starts talking to you, and you realize it knows more about everything in your life than you do, and so on. Yeah. So that's path 4. Okay, let's see. Yeah. Yes.
Suggestion for the course. I think, if possible, would it be like okay to get like a mic that like the people here can share, and then you can have a mic later on?
Yes. No. Angus would be very happy to provide that. I think. Yeah. No. Yeah. He and I've been working together for like 10 years now, and yeah, no, that would be great to hear that the existing system works well, but we just want more of it, you know. That would be good. Yeah, so I will get us a second mic. That sounds good. And I'll see if he has any thoughts about this strange thing about taking the headphones on and off in this room, you know, or if that's just, maybe that is the best way. Maybe the people on Zoom get the best sound if we have things set up that way. So, okay, so we're 7 minutes over time. Thank you very much for coming, and we'll see you on Thursday. Yeah, great.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, bye-bye. Okay, so I want to